Hi there, welcome to Floating in Dreams. Welcome to the worst makeup I tried in 2024. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. Yes, we're in the midst of the end of year favorite series, but I always like to tell you a little bit about some products that I felt didn't quite work for me. So these are the products I tried that I was just disappointed in, that I just felt didn't deliver on what I had expected. These aren't bad products per se, but there was just always something about them that I didn't love. I will leave links to reviews for these in the description box down below, so if you want to see swatches and looks and what it looks like on my skin, then you can go there. And if you are interested in buying these, if they are still available, I will make sure to have some shopping links in the description box as well, so you can buy them. If you do buy it through those links, then know that I could make a small commission. So I set myself the task in 2024 to test out a bunch of new concealers. I hadn't really tested out many concealers in years before that. I already showed you my favorites the other day, but there were also some things that I didn't love. The thing I didn't love was the Collection Lasting Perfection Hydrating Serum Concealer. And I could have also listed the foundation here, but I couldn't find it as I was getting ready to film this video. I got this in shade Porcelain, and this says it's hydrating. It just really wasn't. On my dry skin, this looked patchy. It accentuated all of my dryness. The foundation was even a worse offender than the concealer was. And, you know, I bought this for the nostalgia, because the Collection Lasting, what's it called again? Lasting Perfection Concealer was a staple for me in my 20s. I went through 3 tubes of the original version that was out like 10 years ago. I used so many of them. I remember like my early days watching beauty YouTube and reading blogs. Everybody was raving about this concealer, and it was also like coinciding with when I would go to London for the first time. So I was always picking this up, and I went through several tubes, but I just feel like I'm now 40. My skin needs something so differently from when I was in my late 20s / early 30s. So this really wasn't for me. I think if you have oilier skin, if you're a lot younger than me, if you don't have dry, crepey under eyes like I do, you may still very much like this. But for me, it wasn't perfect. I also have this one here, the Lumene Blur Concealer. I tried this because Lumene made one of my favorite foundations I tried, I think, last year. It was lovely, and I was like, might as well try their concealer. But this is, again, like the Collection one, not right for me. It is dry, it's cakey, it's far too mattifying, so that didn't work. I have it in shade Light, which I also thought was a touch too yellow. So this, again, wasn't a favorite, not because it's a bad product per se, it just didn't really go with my skin and what I need it to do. I always test out a lot of Essence and Catrice, so there's always products from the new Essence and Catrice updates that I end up trying that I don't love. I also love plenty of the things that they do come out with, which are sprinkled into these favorites videos that you're watching here this week as well. But these from Essence were duds for me anyways. The biggest dud I tried from Essence was possibly this. Does this look like the Charlotte Tilbury, like, you know, the little highlighter thing? What's it called? Film Star Bronze and Glow? No, that's the bronzer highlighter duo. Hollywood Flawless Filter. I always forget the name of that product nowadays. This is the Magic Filter Glow Booster from Essence, and this smells like it's gone off. Like from the minute I opened it, it smells like burned plastic. It's so yucky, and yes, the smell disappears, but I am someone who can really be triggered by scents. I'm not allergic to them. I'm not allergic to fragrance. It never like messes with my skin like I know it can do for some other people. But because I have asthma and I have certain allergies that are like airborne, you could say, very strong scents can give me a headache, or they can set off my asthma and hay fever. Guess what happened with this one? It gave me a headache because it was such a strong scent. Does it disappear once you've spread it out and it sits on your face for a while? Yes, but it just smells bad. It's just not a pleasant scent. And I know that this brand can do good things because Catrice, which is Essence's sister brand, they're owned by the same company, does a rendition of the Hollywood Flawless Filter, the Soft Glam filter, that I love. In fact, I like it better than the Charlotte Tilbury original. So for them to then come out and do this, I don't know, it smells so funky that I would not recommend you pick this up, especially not if you're sensitive to scents. Something that did absolutely nothing for me is this one. This is the Essence Juicy Melon Tinted Lip and Cheek Balm. This is just too sheer. It's cutesy. It looks like a watermelon because it has those little pips. Do you see that throughout the product? It's just like a little card, I think, that's in the back that makes it look like there are pits. It's a cream, but it's very sheer. It's one of those pH reacting sort of things. It doesn't blend. It kind of like where you put your finger down, that's where it sticks. It's sticky, it's yucky. It didn't really do much on my lips. I couldn't build up the strength of the color because if I tried layering it, it just moved my foundation around. I tried using it once or twice when it was in my Shop My Stash, but I decided that this wasn't for me at all. And finally, the Essence Drop of Sunshine Bronzing Drops. Again, a dupe that they did from the Drunk Elephant stuff, of course. I think e.l.f. also came out with like a bronzing drop kind of thing, and I feel like if e.l.f. does it first, then Essence and Catrice are not far behind. So I wanted to try it to see if I liked it. Is it okay? Yes, but it only comes in one shade. And I have fair skin, so this made me look orange, which is not a good look for me. So the Essence Bronzing Drops can work for some people, but I think you have to have light to medium skin for this to work, and you need to have a warm undertone. So it's a lot of people actually, but it's not me. So yes, it works. Yes, it bronzes up the face, but it's far too dark, far too orange for someone with my pale complexion. I tried this in several ways. I tried this mixing it in with foundation, which just changed my foundation shade into a shade 3 times darker than it actually needs to be for my skin tone. And so the best way for me to use it is as a liquid bronzer all over the lid, all over the face. But I can't use it as a mix-in, which is how this is actually intended to be used. Like add a couple of drops so you can have a bit more of a sun-kissed glow. This just made me look like I ate too many carrots. And I mentioned Essence products, and I also have some Catrice things where I'm like, no. This is actually not too terrible. Let me start off by saying that. This is the Catrice Blush Affair Liquid Blush. And this is okay. This is fine. I don't remember the shade. This is Velvet Rose. I think this is the only one I kept around. This is very pretty on the face. Very, very pretty. If you get it on, this is very, very oily. So this works best on bare skin. If you have foundation on underneath, this will break up your foundation because of how oily it is. And because Essence actually came out with similar styled liquid blushes, bronzers, and highlighters around the same time that I like a lot more that aren't as oily as this, I was like, maybe. So if you're someone who doesn't wear a lot of face makeup, then this might work for you. It may be really lovely. I did like the shades. I like the formula well enough for my dry skin in the wintertime. It was okay, but I shouldn't try using this like any time of year, like besides the dead of winter, because it just won't work for me. It's far too oily and it breaks up any makeup that's underneath it. Not a good thing for me. And I think one of the worst things I tried all year, also by Catrice here, are these liquid eyeshadows. These are the Deep Matte Liquid Eyeshadow. Here is the purpley one. There was this cotton candy one, and there was a baby blue one. It also came in some like pastel-y neon shades. There was like a bright green, and I think there was like an orange and like a highlighter yellow sort of shades. These are so sheer, so they barely show up. And that means that you start layering them to get the color to be as intense as you want it to be, but then it creases. Even over an eyeshadow primer, this creases so terribly, and they barely show up. So as much as these look fun, I mean, they could perhaps still be a base underneath a pastel eyeshadow to intensify it perhaps. But no, these were a true dud for me. I didn't like using these. I used them once or twice, once in the makeup look I did for the trial video when I did a first impression, and I used them once or twice again just to see if I used a slightly different technique, if they would crease again on me, and they did. So these were just no bueno. If I use a liquid shadow, I want them to stick. And the final Catrice product are these two Heart Affair blushes. I think that's what the collection was called. Yes, Catrice Heart Affair blush stamp. These are pretty. They're these little stamp things that you can like press into a little cushion, and then you have the stamp that is a little heart. But these are aggressive. Like, these were pigmented. And I actually made the mistake of like pressing them in too much. Like this one a little less, but these were patchy. They didn't blend well. And now I'm looking at these and I'm like, why didn't I declutter these? Because they're so big and bulky. Like, look at how big these are. And I have so many great liquid blushes in my collection. That's one of the things I need to do in 2025 is like cut my blush collection in half, because some of it I don't even use. I don't get to use it because I can't reach it, because things like this are in the way. So I'm not even sure why this even made it through the declutter I did in March, because I already had these in. But maybe I felt I hadn't tested them out enough, and I was like, oh, they're good enough for another year. And now I'm just like, they're just in the way, and I don't like the shades. This is too warm tone. This is pretty. It's cool tone enough, but it's very dark, and because they're so pigmented, it takes ages to blend them out. And I just have other liquid blushes, like by Glossier and by MUA, that I like so much better, that give me a lot more control about how much I actually apply. So these were a bit of a miss for me. And finally, in worst makeup products, I have this guy. This is the Glossier Stretch Foundation. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Glossier. I love so many of their products. And objectively, this is a good foundation. It's glowy. It's got pretty good coverage. But the shade range, let me tell you, I bought this online because Glossier started shipping internationally at the end of 2023, which made me very happy because it's now a lot easier for me to get a hold of them. So I bought this when it launched, thinking this is going to be my new favorite foundation. I love the stretch concealer. That's one of my all-time favorites. And this was such a dud for me. And then I was at the Glossier store in London over the springtime just to see, like, what shade would I have picked if I would have seen this in store before purchasing. Because just judging by the images online, I went with shade 4? Very light, 4. How is this very light? Like, look at the back of my hand. It's 5 shades too dark for me. And there are 3 darker shades, but they're all super yellow. So when I was in store, I swatched them all, and there isn't a single shade that is light enough for me and the right undertone for me. So unless they do a shade range extension some point in time, this was such a big disappointment. I'm gonna have to pass this on to someone else because it really doesn't work for me. And that makes me sad because the product itself, like the actual foundation, the formula, I loved. But the shade was so far off of what I needed it to be that I was like, no can do. No can very much do. And the final worst product that I tried in 2024 is this bronzer. I'm not even sure what's happening to this brand because I picked this up in London in the springtime, and by the fall time, I couldn't even really find this brand anywhere. So it's Rose Inc. This is their cream bronzer in Kawi. I hope that's how you pronounce it. And this, again, I wanted to try because I heard so many people raving about it, saying it was great. Looked for it last year when I was in London, couldn't find it. It was sold out everywhere. So that made me think that's going to be a great product. And now I've tried it and I was like, really? I have drugstore bronzers I like better than this. This was just so dry. It barely blended. I couldn't pick it up with a brush. I couldn't pick it up with fingers. It was such a chore to use. I like the shade of it. It's a little bit yellow and dark for what I want, but one shade down was too orange. So I was like, sometimes I'm like better off with a deeper shade, I have found with bronzers, because sometimes the undertone is better, and if I then use a light hand, I can make it work. But I had so much trouble trying to apply this, and again, it moved my foundation around. Wherever I would apply this, I could just see a patch of foundation missing. And again, life is too short. I have plenty of cream bronzers that I like so much better than I do this, that have a far more, like far easier to use formula than this, that I just don't want to bother. So again, this is lightly used. I will probably pass it on to someone else. But yeah, I hope this video wasn't too negative for you. It was, of course, about worst products I tried this year. Let me know in a comment down below what your worst products are. I would love to know. I still have some favorites products coming really soon as well, because I have 6 videos that I've been doing since Christmas Day all the way until the end of the new year. So there's going to be daily videos for me still until New Year's Day, you could say. So stay tuned for more, and then I hope to see you again very soon. Take care. Bye bye.